Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. I understand that uh, this link may be out there a little bit late, so I will do a little bit of a preamble till we get involved in the show. And in honor of Labor Day here in the States, I thought we would talk about, well, labor. And more importantly, I am a huge proponent of trying to find things in our own lives to allow us to be inspired. But there's kind of a drawback to that as well. And the drawback to being inspired by things around us is the fact that we may not have an adequate ability to um, engage in those inspirations. So yeah, Mufasa. Yeah, I came here to avoid thinking about work. Yeah, I hear you because doing the stream is actually my way of it's like a on a personal note, it's my way of exercising those demons. But man, it is so rough, especially when you've got there's nothing worse than having to be inspired, like to have a great idea, like you're thinking it could be anything, right? You're thinking about a special moment in like a book you read, or like an anime or a movie, or you're prepping for a game, or hell, it might even be something even geekier than that. Like, man, dude, I saw a really cool T-shirt with a saying on it, or boy, I'd like to punch out a great meme on my social media or something, and then you don't have the time to do it. So I thought we would talk, and of course, with Labor Day having just passed, I thought we would talk about it and try to find some story elements in it, kind of keep it in our back pocket. Okay, so Labor Day here in the states, of course, is a holiday in celebration of the labor movement of the in the past what was called a blue collar worker. So blue collar workers versus white collar was that if you had a shirt that had a white collar, it meant you didn't get dirty. Blue collars were these like blue shirts and blue jumpsuits that were ubiquitous at a period of time, and they were the grease stained, coal stained, dust stained, rust stained, uh, sweaty stained uniforms that people wore when going to work. And one of the strange things about uh, labor and unions in many ways, because Labor Day really, at a period of time, really circled around the idea of unions, was that you had a boss and then you had many workers. Boss orders the workers what to do. At a certain point, there's an overreach, and then all the workers go, wait a minute, there's more of us than you, and you need us. So you better treat us better. So then comes the union movement, which and we're not going to get into this political argument, but there are a lot of people who are on either side of the fence of pro-union, anti-union. I personally grew up on the East Coast, Pennsylvania, East Coast of the United States in Pennsylvania, huge union city, region, whatever. So just bear with me. But unions came about because of terrible work conditions, not the other way around. And unfortunately, unions turned into the devil you. It's like the devil you know. And so, in my opinion, for those who are like, "Oh, unions suck because they ruin businesses and things like that," I'm like, yeah, but it's like Doctor Strange summoning a demon and think he's got control over it, right? Like at a certain point, you start demon summoning and the demon gets out. That's kind of your fault for summoning the demon in the first place. So, but that being said, in reality, I was like, wait a minute, maybe this is where the perception could become the reality. Okay. So, what if you have like a kingdom or a nobility, or hell, just imagine the great stories that come about through the expansion through the United States. And when I say great stories, I know there's a lot of problematic histories here, but I'm thinking of gold rush, the railroads, oil, coal, like these people that are supposed to be masters of industry, and of course, in order to recover these resources, you need labor. And a lot of that labor market was used and abused during that time until they organized. And what happens if you have someone, you know, the typical goodly king that needs protect their kingdom, and they need to have a wall built, or they have to have structures and things built to hold off the hordes of whatever evil countryside thing is happening on the outside, but they need to get it done yesterday, right? They can't wait. So that they become more abusive to get more people involved in it. And then suddenly the population is like, wait a minute, you're not just backbreaking us, like you're murdering us to get this thing done. We don't want to do it any longer. And then they create problems within their own community. Now, as a backdrop, it would be pretty interesting for player characters to come to a region where they are having labor issues, whether there's not enough people because they've been conscripted into military, or the player characters come upon a city that or a city state where maybe they've lost so much of their population, they don't have enough people to commit to the labor that the player characters once came to this big bustling city of great ideas, but now the population is so low, maybe they don't have enough people, or there's something or someone is drawing the population away. Your classic Rakshasas, Naga, Sphinxes, Fey creatures, drawing people away that are needed for the economy and the labor that's normally performed within this city as well. So as a backdrop, labor issues could be an issue where the players come along, they know the player's handbook, they know what the prices are, they get there and all the prices are 10 times or more, or they can't find the needed things that they want. Like the player's like, oh, we've got a rule in our game where we need a healer's kit. I'm just going to go down to the local apothecary and get my healer's kit. And the doors are closed. And they're like, well, where's the apothecary? And they're like, well, they're, miles, kilometers away helping other people out because they had to close their doors. They need to help people on the front lines, or build a dam or something. Now, this doesn't necessarily need to be evil, but it could be something that is manipulating the society. So, for example, we have ourselves here in the United States, and this is something I actually was thinking about bringing up before. I guess I'll bring it up now because labor has a lot to do with it. Um, I'm going to segue slightly, and I'll get back on track. The if you take a look at YouTube and across my feeds anyway, there are lots of foreign individuals who have channels dedicated to reviewing what it's like to live in the United States. And no disrespect to other countries, but the United States, to other people's surprise, is very dynamic when it comes to the weather. And storms, floods, heat waves, fires. We haven't had a really terrible earthquake in a while, but we have things like sinkholes and insect swarms and all kinds of stuff, diseases, of course, and there's so many things that happen in and around this country. And I wonder if part of that, because I've used the word crucible before, and I wonder if, yeah, it's like Ohio gets it all. Yeah, we actually do. And as a matter of fact, we've had earthquakes. Some will say due to fracking. Um, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, in Ohio, the Ohio Valley, technically we're like in a bowl, so there are certain areas that are in floodplains when it storms, whatnot, and then we get lake effect snow as well. So there's a lot of things, and I wonder if that's a thing that unites people. It's the fist in the air, America kind of thing, and I wonder if there's something about that, the going through the terrible moments, that unites people in a in oh I'm I don't mean to make levels of this, but I wonder if it's like a commoner's way of surviving battle, similar to people in the battlefronts. I'm using terrible descriptors, but I'm saying like it's like all people on a bus that falls off a cliff and everyone survives, and all the people on the bus who didn't know each other now are united in this particular event that happened. And I wonder if the weather events that happen here are a similar thing. I don't know. Mike says an example of a town with a labor-based plot thread. Um, says LaBelle, a town in Godless, yeah, and on Netflix, where the silver mine killed all the men. Oh, by the way, guys, I think they could have gone further with that show, but yes, in there's a on Netflix there's a show called Godless, and the town is just filled with nothing but women. And of course, what happened is it's the these are the stories of the Western spread, the United States. Before, of course, they were the United States, and the women of the town, lived there, and their men went to work in the silver mine. And unfortunately, somehow they hit a gas pocket, poison pocket, and there's some pretty dark imagery of the mechanical elevator of sorts coming up out of the mine shaft, and you just see bodies of all the men that just were literally just went off to work one day, came back, and I mean just went off to work, and one day they were just all dead. And how the town had to cope with the fact that all the ladies at a period of time when it was there was women's work and there was men's work, but you got to survive, right? So what positions do people take? What social norms do you break? And I think that's pretty interesting. I mean, imagine arrogant nobility. PCs leave the arrogant nobility along, and they're just like, we're probably gonna have to come by and kill these people. They come back, and the nobles are like, shoveling shit with everybody else, and it's like, what? And the nobles are like, hey, somebody's got to do it, and the people aren't going to listen to us. Somebody's got to put the boots on and everything. Or it could be the other way around. You start beating people. We need each person to work to become the labor of three other people, and then you start having your you either break people down or start beating them. I'm going to bring up China 996 in a minute. Mike says if you want to go with horror, you could create a plot thread like either the Aliens franchise or 30 Days of Night, where a town springs up around race around the race for something, only to unlock monster attacks. Yeah, there's about the Western expansion idea, of course, is, for example, let's go with mining for things, mining for coal, silver, gold, diamonds, um, unobtainium, and there's the rush to arrive in the unknown, and then a town usually springs up around it, right? Someone's digging for something, and they go, "In there's gold in them there hills," and then people start hearing about it, and then they start coming, and they start coming. One of the Kickstarters that I successfully got, which unfortunately it went out with a whimper, was Salt in Wounds, which was a city based around the half the stasis body of a Tarrasque, and how its blood seeped into the ground, and they were cutting the meat and flesh off of it, and you making alchemical formulas from its brain matter and whatnot. And but a town sprung up around it, and then it the idea was that the labor market suffered from all the local areas nearby because everybody wanted to rush to this new place where this new value was. And yeah, I mean, like we forget that in the Aliens franchise, the characters were basically just they were like laborers. They were on a mining ship, right, to get from one place to another, or find a planet to find something. 30 Days of Night. They were a combination of a small town, way up in the Arctic North, and there. As a matter of fact, there's even what is it, Ice Road Truckers. While the television show Ice Road Truckers is popular, the reason that there are Ice Road Truckers in the first place is because I believe it's the De Beers company is trying to mine diamonds to hoard the diamonds to keep the value of diamonds at the rate at which they decide diamond value should be. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you could do with that. And could you imagine a long, and this would be a long plot for like an evil entity whose only job is to, they're working towards something. And when I say work, they're literally trying to recruit people, not treating them badly, but they're like, hey, listen, we need to dig for, we want to dig for diamonds because we want to keep the resurrection market at a premium or something like that. That'd be pretty strange, but kind of cool too. Mike Gould says, adding a celestial event, one falling meteor could create a race to get whatever rare ores it might have. Oh hell yes. Be it mithril, adamantium. Yep. I recently saw the dagger of Tutankhamun made from meteor meteor meteoric iron. Excuse me, and it hasn't corroded. I didn't know that. That inspired the idea that meteoric ores are necessary for magical weapons and armor. There's your big motivation. Yeah, I mean, and literally, you could start that from a casual players are players are in the tavern, they're drinking mead. Someone runs into the tavern, hey everybody, look up in the sky, and someone religious is like, it's a sign from the gods. So, someone more practical is like, you know big rock falling from the sky, uh-oh, what's going to happen now? And then all of a sudden everyone runs outside and you see the streak of light come. In real life, I understand that you wouldn't even be able to see it, or you would see the after effects, but whatever. So it's moving slow enough for us to see. It's movie magic, right? And everyone sees the comet or whatever it is falling from the sky, and it strikes somewhere. Of course, distant, close enough for us to see the impact, distant enough that you really got to get together to get there. And then the players are like looking around, like, is that a story seed? Is that a hook? I don't know. But then all of a sudden, maybe it does become a hook when the next day the tavern's closed because the tavern owner gathered up all their stuff, including the magical sword that was always hanging above the bar, and it's like, "Duh, I'm leaving. I'm getting a backpack, and maybe I'll make my fortune." And the players are like, "Where's everybody going? Why is there caravans and stuff?" I mean, yeah, and a simple idea like that could really, it might allow us to make the world seem more alive. When I've always had the rule that if the world should move, and if the players stand still, the world should move around them. And if the city state starts shutting down and going through disrepair, and criminals start moving into the city state, that's the players' usual place because they really don't want to leave. They want to turtle up. All of a sudden, maybe there are dangerous things start moving into town because the people are leaving to go make their fortunes, to go after the comet, or go mining, or move to a distant land. I mean, hell, if you think about it, the Mad Max series in many ways dealt with that as well. The the Road Warrior, the movie The Road Warrior, was about finding a paradise, and it was based on a postcard or something, a crumpled postcard in an old man's jacket, right? So, and what did they do? They were laboring with oil, and then they had to bring the people along and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I think there's something to it. I didn't forget the 996. I will get to the 996. But Mike says, riffing on your idea, the aged and worn out, you start out guarding a caravan could become a riff on your Ice Road Truckers idea, where the players are the caravan. They need to ship precious cargo. They need to ship precious cargo from point A to point B. These could include money, ore, dragon eggs, whatever. The PCs may not know, but the villains and regional leaders might. So you get politics, intrigue, travel, etc. And listen, a lot of times, I mean, okay, toning it down just a little bit, right? Just from the more arcane elements of fantasy. Honestly, trade is a huge motivator for one thing, right? Like, if I've got chocolate in my town and it's common, and someone else doesn't have chocolate, it's uncommon, instant trade. It's supply and demand. And on a more subdued level, just having something someone else doesn't have gives that thing value, and whatever that may be. And it could be in resources and goods, whether it's ore, wood, textiles of any sort. It could be an intellectual knowledge, right? Whether they are elements of uh, education itself is a trade good. Hey, can you teach my people how to build boats? Can you teach my people how to survive in the Arctic wilderness? Can you teach, education? Training people for war and battle and survival is a thing. A ranger, a PC ranger might need to train the proverbial Eagle Scouts or something for the next generation for community, and that would be pretty interesting to put the players in a caravan responsibility. We need to take care of something. So on one hand, uh, much like a base of operations, right? The players can leave, but they also need to come back and take care of their responsibilities. And I like the idea of literally the caravan is the adventure. The caravan, it's piracy on dry land, right? It's the we're all a crew, we stick together, and how listen how this story is circling back to how many other Pelorus says the Owlbear Scouts. I, always the sarcasm, and I love it. I take that for real, right? I mean, why do we have to stick with mundane animals and creatures? Why couldn't there be? Uh, how silly would it be for like a little kid finds an owlbear cub and it's like, "Can I keep it?" And the PCs are like looking at each other and looking at the owlbear cub like, how do we separate the kid from this thing because it might eat the kid's face. And then a player character is like, oh, can I make the kid as a player character? And everyone's like, hells yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. I don't know, if I made a kid as a player character, I'd probably make them like I'd steal halfling stats and just make them that way or something. I don't know, it doesn't matter. Mike Gould says, insert one thing. Coffee. Ooh, one town has the beans, another town doesn't, but knows how to turn that bean into ground and roasted coffee. Another town wants something to motivate its workers. Subplot. Exactly. As a matter of fact, a lot of textiles came from the fact that you had a resource, you had people who want to buy the end result, and then you have all the middle people, right? Like you have wood, and then you have people who want paper, furniture, buildings. So in the middle are all the people who do the processing of that material. And what a great way to have players either protect the resource that needs to be gathered. And listen, when I say resources, this doesn't necessarily need to be resource extraction, like destroying the environment or something like that. It could literally be, hey, let's go to this place. Maybe there's a special herb or nectar. It might be something small. Maybe they're protecting a herd or whatever. And then they take that thing to another place to be processed, whether if you don't like the idea of like say animals being slaughtered or something, sheep is a great idea where you have someone raises sheep, somebody else takes the wool off, somebody else cleans the wool and puts it on spools. I don't know the process, but turns the wool their turns their fur into what we know as wool that is spun into clothing, and then somebody has to then take those spools of woven wool and spin it into clothing to make the clothing, and then somebody sells it in the market, right? And so all those steps players could be involved, where of course they don't have to physically be doing it, but they could be protecting it or monitoring it for any number of reasons. Mike says, in all seriousness, if you need a way to unite a party, quote, we were Owlbear Scouts together back in the day. Yeah, oh hell's yes. Hell yeah. You know what? What a strange thing in role playing that old classmates isn't a norm in the role playing sphere. Like a lot of times when we want to unite the player characters, we're like, okay, everybody, come on, the whole tavern thing and strangers and stuff. But under United Banner, and of course we've got like knighthood and united under a literal banner of honor. We have religious organizations united under maybe a god or something. But the old classmates idea, like, why not? And listen, you this doesn't necessarily mean everyone has to pick the same background when it comes to creating their character, but maybe there's like everyone's like, all right, guys, we're going to pick four backgrounds. You can only pick like out of these four backgrounds, but we've all went to school together, or we all graduated from the same wizard school, or and the player character is playing the ranger who went to the wizard schools. Like, yeah, I skipped class a lot and ran out in the wilderness. Right? That what a great idea to say. I grew up to be a ranger, but yeah, I remember wizard school. That's where my magic. That's how I use my magic. But I didn't really graduate or something. Um, but yeah, absolutely. Mike says resources are a great plot hook. When I played a Tiefling Paladin, Vertes Mortez, House Mortez came into power because they cornered the market in cigar tobacco. There were times during that. Oh, I'll wait for the comment. But yet, the United States was built on the triangle of um, of trade. Now, of course, we know the what's the game? Is it Puerto Rico? Is the game with the brown pegs representing people? Anyway, but that triangle of was what was it? Sugar, tobacco, um, potatoes came here because of potato famine. All kinds of herd animals, chickens, cattle, pigs, and whatnot. My mind's being flooded by a number of different things. What kind of other crops? Crops of corn and wheat and whatnot. And look at the problems and story ideas involved in all that. Like the Black Blizzard that happened here in the United States because of planting crops inappropriately in a region that ended up eroding the soil and whatnot, and all that came about from a hell of a lot of labor, you know. Anyway, Mike goes on to continue that there were times during that campaign where tensions were resolved simply by offering a cigar, a small pouch of tobacco. Exactly, exactly. I mean, you know, you brought up uh, talking about tobacco and coffee and whatnot. A lot of these things we end up absorbing them into our social norms when it comes to using things like, let's say, sugarcane. Sugarcane became rum. I believe it's rum, fermented rum. Alcohol is made by fermenting the sugars from different things, like from potatoes and from sugar, et cetera, et cetera, and rice and all those kind of things. And rum came about from fermenting sugar, which was a plantation thing. Tobacco, you grow tobacco, then you have to dry it, then you turn it and you roll it and turn it into cigars, or I guess it's ground up into cigarettes or whatever. I don't know the process. And then within that, it's not just a matter of, okay, roll it and smoke it. Then it becomes like, who's got the best and how is it aged? And there's flavors to it. And then we start picking it apart. I mean, look at alcohol today. Alcohol has so many, it's not grog anymore. It is its own specific industry with people, sommeliers, people who are have a whole career based on tasting other people's alcohol. So you could have a whole region of people who are based around an economy of a resource. And uh, I think there's something that we could use as a very simple, actually kind of boring if you think about it, for role playing games where we can take labor and use it. Talking about 996, I was watching a short documentary about the 996 in China is working 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. And it is a minimum of work hours expected by people working in the modern industry. And it's so much that people are working well past 9 p.m. in the evening. And if you don't want to work that, and this is usually done with very little breaks, no vacations, etc., that there's always somebody else to find. And it's getting to the point where they are literally constructing areas because there's so much suicide and depression that they're constructing areas to keep people from doing such a thing. Like safety nets because people jump off of buildings, and um, neighbors making sure they check in on, and coworkers checking in on each other because they found so many of their coworkers dead. Doing sweeps of cubicles because people literally pass out and or die in their cubicles and stuff from working themselves so much. It's pretty crazy. Now going back into what our co-hosts have to say here, Mike says we look at valuable objects in fantasy worlds as being gold, gems, and so on. In our world, value came from who controlled oil, furs, sugar, tobacco, coffee, tea, spices, etc. Consider the Silk Road. Oh hell yeah! I mean, you're so right about, like, we consider value to be like the rare thing, the small rare thing, but really, you today, oil. Who controls oil? That's a big thing. Who controls electricity or the internet? Right? It's the ubiquitous thing that makes everybody stand up on edge when something changes. And when it comes to, like, today, even today, when it comes to oil, sugar, tobacco, coffee, could you imagine tea? Could you imagine someone having the monopoly on that? And they go, you know what? I wanted better treatment but from you guys, but you know what? No more coffee and tea. You know how many people, which like, how much coffee is used to fuel human beings while they fuel up their vehicles today, especially here in the states. Here in the states, coffee is like breathing. Now in other places it might be tea or chai or something like that. But yeah, oh man. Anyway, going on with you guys. North America was discovered because of a desire for spices. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I guess in many ways, it maybe in a way it still is, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe we're always looking for spices elsewhere. Pelora says the history of grog is pretty interesting, but the big resource there is limes. Suddenly, limes are vital to maritime trade. It isn't. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't grog more popular than water, or grog came about to pacify people, get a little bit of that uh alcoholic passivity in you, and also it was a purifier for water because a lot of water sources had a lot of bacteria, and if you put alcohol in it, it kills the bacteria, or at least it was a rudimentary way to do it. I believe that's what it was. Mike Gould says, and instead ended up discovering, coming here for spices, and instead ended up discovering tobacco, corn, coffee, silver, and gold. Yeah, yeah. And a lot of stuff was actually transported here as well. A lot of grains and seeds were able to grow here that weren't possible in other places. Kind of cool, like rice, specifically. Far more uh, uh, Asian inspired rather than like wheat or something like that. So the lowly lime farmer becomes integral to seabound exploration. Hey, listen. You know who's really valuable when it comes to labor? The cook. Want to see value? Shut off the coffee supply. Yeah, damn. When I was in, listen, this is long before the rise of Starbucks and bougie coffees. When I worked at Wawa, it's a 24-hour uh, quick stop, and it's called Wawa, WAWA, on the East Coast. And when I worked at Wawa during the 24 hours, right? So when I was young, I worked third shift, and third shift was midnight to like 8 in the morning or something. And our job was to prep the coffee for the morning time, and there would be people waiting like 5, 6 in the morning for their coffee, and we had so many coffee machines, like you would revolve through the coffee, so there were so many machines. By the time you got to the end of the line of the machines, you'd be going back to refill the other coffee machines, and you do this rotation, and if you missed that rotation, oh my god, people would be pissed. They would just be waiting there, tapping their foot, and like staring at you and stuff like that. Yeah. Mike Gould says booze became a daily thing because you couldn't drink the water. Yeah, yeah, that I believe that was it, Rep. Yeah, people were just getting drunk, and wine was a big thing too as well because I mean, culturally, people just got used to drinking wine, and the alcohol in it would kill bacteria because wine could last a very long time. I think well, it will also turn to vinegar as well, but alcohols last a long time. I think honey lasts forever. I think it's one of the few biologics that never spoil. I think that's what it is. Mike says need an intrigue plot. Who killed the coffee baron? Watch your coffee drinker players get invested when you tell them their character can't have coffee until the murder is solved. Tick, 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 tick. They start having like instead of losing hit points, they're like having withdrawal symptoms and whatnot. Anybody got a stick of gum? Tapping their foot and whatnot. You have a disadvantage on your stealth because your hands are shaking. Oh no! Oh no! It's the 3 o'clock. What is it when you get the after you get the coffee high and then you start to get that drop off because the caffeine's gone. You're like, no. Mike Gould says the pyramids were built by workers who had beer for breakfast. Yeah, yeah. And listen, talking about pyramids. I mean, how many times have we seen in fantasy these huge monolithic, these grand structures dedicated to fill in the blank, right? The gods, the demons, or someone's personal, uh, uh, like I don't know, narcissism or something. For even from ancient times, but who built that stuff? I mean, how cool would it be for the players to stumble upon a place that's being built right now? As a matter of fact, there's some great imagery in the animated movie Prince. I was going to call it Prince of Thieves. Um, it's the story of Moses and whatnot. Anyway, there's the imagery I'm thinking of is you could see the pyramids and things being built in the background. And then when the father passes away and the son takes over, and you could see how he's got one, a monolith, a structure built bigger to is it Prince? It's the Prince of Egypt. I was about to say Prince of Thieves. What am I thinking of? It's Prince of Egypt. Yes, Z. Thank you so much. Wow, it's what happens when you're live. Anyway, but the image I'm having is where they're having a conversation, and in the background there's the Egyptian statue is based off of his face, but it's bigger than his father's was, and you see all the people toiling away with the scaffolding and stuff. And why wouldn't players just stumble upon that, where you see all these people building these statues to like celestials or something, and the paladin comes in and is like, we're not supposed to be that like narcissistic. Like, why are you we're building this for the gods. Oh no, you're fine there, Z. Yeah. Oh yeah, I listen, I get it. It's the auto we end up talking about things that autocorrect, especially if you're on your phone and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, sometimes the autocorrect is like, why are they talking about geeky stuff? Let me correct this. Polaris mentions, yeah, there's an English thing, and presumably other places, where you get 12-year-olds drinking beer down the coal mines because the water was so polluted. Yeah, wow, I didn't know that, but there's almost a culture of coal miners that are like that, where they get these young, if I'm not mistaken, for a long time, children were brought down in the coal mines because they were small and they used up less oxygen and they could get into tight spaces and things like that. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Mike says PCs get twitchy over caffeine withdrawal. The bartender asks if you want an ale. PC, roll for initiative. Ale? Give me my coffee. Yeah. Oh man. Michael says, okay, now I'm seeing scaffolding around the pyramids and workers around in ancient garb and construction helmets. The architect is wearing a hazard yellow vest. Yep. And there's always that group wearing with the white collars and the clipboards, and all the workers are up there like, yeah, I see you. I see you kissing butt down there, foreman. But I think some other things we could find in labor is the idea of like it's that playing with the notions of there are no pure good and pure evil, where games are not necessarily designed, especially Dungeons and Dragons and a lot of role playing games, they're not designed for average people. Player characters are the exception, right? And the games are about heroes, they are singular entities. And so, um, yep. I see it in the chat. But these singular entities, it's very difficult to enumerate what average people are like, because when mobs of people get together to do a thing, we become, one person trying to move a couch is hard. You get two, three, four people who are trying to move furniture and move you out of one place and move you to another location. It's a force multiplier, and it's difficult to get like, well, my one player character is a barbarian badass, but if he's surrounded by 37 people, sometimes it doesn't matter how much of badass you are. That mob of people could really overtake you, no matter how good of a warrior you are. Now we're talking real life. When you're cinematic and you're a hero, yeah, you could pretty much beat ass on 30 average individuals. But to get the verisimilitude of a world, when people are working together to do a thing, human beings take down whales and elephants. They kill things larger than themselves. They took down mammoths. When it comes to survival, we've built mega structures, bridges across chasms that would easily kill us if we fell down. And we build tunnels and whatnot. And that labor movement might be something that could the people themselves might be of such a value that even the most evil people are like, we need to treat them like gold. I bring up, there's I think it's 4 episode series called Chernobyl, and in it they needed to find the Russians after the meltdown of Chernobyl. They needed to find the miners that were far away from the Chernobyl incident, and convince them to come in to dig underneath the radioactive area, because they needed to dig underneath it and put down chemicals and all this kind of stuff. And they were pretty damn arrogant considering the lethal power the Russian government had. But even they had to respect these dudes. They were just like, like it was like an honor to them. As a matter of fact, there's in New York City, there are not New York City. There are individuals who live in Canada, and if I'm not mistaken, many of them are descended from native tribes who are not afraid of heights, and they are recruited with top dollar to come from Canada, come down to New York City to help build and service skyscrapers in New York City, and they're paid top dollar because nobody else can do it. And I remember seeing a documentary about that as well. I don't have a lot of detail in my memory about it, but yeah, maybe there are people who just have skills that are just really great. Anyway, the joke I was laughing at, Mike says there's a donkey backing up and you hear a backup alarm. Beep, beep, beep. Yeah, the donkey's backing up. I just imagine that. Oh man. Pelora mentions kids are used to shore up the face because they can get underneath it to put in the supports. Yeah. Yeah. Mm, kind of terrible, right? But it's a real thing though. Yeah, used in lots of mines, and I wonder if they're probably even used to today. Hey, hey, Juice, what's going on? For those who don't know, sorry, I just saw it pop up. Good morning, by the way. For those who don't know, Master the Game, go check out the channel. Go like, share, subscribe, or whatever. He's got some uh, great content over there. As a matter of fact, I like the the Blue Rose series because I've got the game and I always wanted to know what that game was like. But yeah, but check that out. Yeah, we're talking about labor today, just because of Labor Day and whatnot, and having some fun with it, and kind of using like was essentially as background furniture, if you will, background plot elements, and just bringing it into the game and stuff. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to do that. Mm-mm-mm. Mike says this. Oh yeah. Oh no, you're right, Juice. Yeah, Blue Rose. Interesting setting there. But anyway, circling back in, Mike says it's easy to turn a race for resources or territory into a conflict, not only between those who want the thing, but for those who already possess the thing and have zero interest in having their area harvested for profit. Absolutely. Like if there's okay, let's go back to coffee, right? Because we're joking about coffee and real player characters getting jittery if they don't get their coffee, but even now, like I joke around about the butt weasel coffee. You know, there is this idea of not over harvesting certain regions or keeping something keeping its value, right? The more you grow coffee crops and beans, the less valuable it becomes because it's so numerous. Or there's also the fight between quantity over quality and who controls what and when. Like, for example, maybe the most powerful person isn't the person that owns the land, the nobles. Maybe the noble has to basically kiss the ass of the harvester who looks at the beans and goes, "Nah, we gotta wait a week." And the nobles are like, "A week? What?" And the harvester's like, "Listen, are you raising your voice at me? Because you want the coffee harvest. I think I need my foot rubbed." Right? I mean, there is a little bit of that when it comes to people who know how to manipulate the labor market when they're out there like, yeah, your castle just got attacked by a dragon. Who's going to clean all that up? You need your walls rebuilt, and your tower was burned and scorched and stuff. I saw those leathery wings knock over three of those towers. Who's going to clean that up? You want our people to do it? How much money you got? What do we get out of it? Now, of course, what they might get out of it is a whip, but you never know, right? You never know. Mike Gould says now you can have circles of druids who want to protect the coffee beans because they see this as holy. Yeah, maybe they control the coffee bean. Um, they drop a good berry in it, and everyone's like, "Man, this is the best coffee in the world." You better get naked and pray with them. Uh, Zamara says it's a bit of a departure from the topic, but I have a religious group that actually takes the homeless from one area and, as they move to another, teach them skills and then drops them off in another town. Okay, then a subsect. I have subsect of them that does so by force, taking wanderers as slaves, and then, after finding out their talent, moving them around the world. Ooh, yeah, yeah. Look how it went from wow, that's a great idea to ow, fucking what? Right? But that's a thing, what if a community, the goodly community needs people to rebuild the town after the dragon attack, and the goodly king is like, we need to get this rebuilt now. And the people are like, well, there's the local people that we didn't think about before. We could train them up, and yeah, let's bring them in the community. And then you have the other person that's like, yeah, let's bring them in the community, beat their asses, make sure we get this done. Yeah. Oh yeah. I hear you there. Go blue. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Side note: there's a big rivalry between Michigan and Ohio State football. I don't know if any of you guys knew that. It's a bit of a rivalry. Yeah. Vampanoy mentions if a PC is suffering from coffee withdrawal, they get advantage on initiative. They get advantage on here. You get advantage on initiative, and you suffer one level of exhaustion. Oh no. Oh man. Yeah. Mike's like retailer. Where do you think pocket halflings come from? That shit ain't free. Got to have your pocket halfling and backup gnome. Yeah, yeah, juice. Yeah, dude. Oh man. Mm-mm-mm. Funny, funny, funny. Pelura's like your druid friend using wild shape to get your fresh butt weasel coffee. The weasels are like, listen, I'm only doing this for you. I'm only doing this for you. Druid's like, come on, hurry up, hurry up. Here's a couple more beans, just please. Weasel's like, fine. Low, low. Oh man. But listen, yeah, there might be. I mean, imagine a new faction in your world that's just nothing but labor unions. And I don't mean like guilds. Like, and I guess they would fall under guilds in a certain way. Like, I'm sure, like in real life, there were carpenters guilds and masonry guilds and whatnot. But imagine a new guild pops up, and like they're all the so-called zero level commoners that are like have stuck together and like, listen, we're tired of being used as the cannon fodder in your gaming world. We're sticking together and we're not moving. And then all the big bads in the world are like, are you serious? They're not going to do what we say anymore. And then we're like, hell no. We know we get killed. We're always put on the front line and used as nameless NPC number 387 when a dragon comes swooping by. We're not doing any of that stuff, right? Yeah. Oh man, like gnome, like Gem Cutters Guild, local 442. Yep, absolutely. Player characters want to get something done. Maybe they've got to go to the local guild and whatnot. Mind you, I belong to a union. I'm a postal worker. We have the NALC, National Association of Letter Carriers, and it is a union. And talking about guilds and unions, one of the most basic rules when it comes to a union of labor is that you the whole point of a union is that everyone's working together for the same goal. And that goal is you affect one, you affect us all, right? And it's the musketeer, one for all for one. And so if one member of that group is mistreated or not compensated well or whatnot, the other members of the group, their power is to stop working to get the purpose of it is to stop working so that conditions get better. So people go down in the mine, they go down in the silver mine, or the caravan has to travel to where, circle back to the meteors falling down to the earth, and everyone's going to try to scramble to get the ore that came down from the meteor that struck the earth. You've got to get all these people to go find it and excuse me, excavate it and whatnot. And if those people are mistreated there, the new people that come in or replace them like fold their arms and go, "No, you literally beat these people to death. We're not working for you." And of course, the threat is we could kill you. And then the union goes and says, "You can't kill us all, but you need us more than we need you." Right? We don't need to get the mithril out of that fallen out of the mountain or whatever the case might be. That's your fault, right? So yeah. Zamara says, "Oh, and as a side note, any low magic medieval setting should feature slaves. The issue with medium-sized and large towns is that there's always more mouth to feed than hands to work. Especially if you have, let's see, where is it? Especially if you have trade happening. And I think that you could, like, you guys know me. I love that middle ground. Like, there's bring up Zamara's point. There could be zero slavery. There could be heavy use of it. But what about that middle ground? What about that transitional phase where you need the labor, but you can't afford the compensation for it, and you need the force multiplier, but you need it now, and that transition, and maybe some goodly people, NPCs, people in your world starts transferring that into the world, and the player characters might be like they might be tasked with defending the city after the dragon attack, knowing that the thing needs to be cleaned up, but they're like, we shouldn't be mistreating these people. And there there's a side note to this, but I'm going to keep on going with you, you co-hosts here. But yeah, yeah, Z, especially, yeah, you got a lot of mouths to feed, and it's like there's a lot of resources involved in just feeding people. There's a lot of resources just taking care of people. A hell of a lot if you really think about it. Every time we eat, you know how many people have to are needed to get the resources it takes for us to eat and drink something. It's crazy. It's crazy. Labor intensive to do that. Plur says one of the Malefax factions tabletop game, okay, is basically a miners union used as a front for illegal mages. Ooh, ooh, that's cool. I like that idea. Michael says a guild leader goes missing because of a dispute with the local thieves guild. Now everyone is looking for the body of Jimmy Hobbit. Jimmy Hobbit, huh? Instead of Jimmy Hoffa. Where's his body buried? Oh man. Oh man. Lee says, Master of the Games is I don't have a lot of slavery in my games. When I do, it is just servants usually, and usually the small races like gnomes or halflings. I'm going to bring up a point, and there was some small. I backed a Kickstarter, and it's called Red Dawn, and Red Dawn is it's a fifth edition. Dark Sun doesn't exist for WotC. And so someone's like, well, let's make our own Dark Sun. And so it's called Red Dawn. And that, I'm picking that one specifically, but we've seen this before where people have a problem today about the concept of even having slavery in any role playing game at all. And I understand where it's coming from, but my problem with removing something with problematic things is that it boils down to one word, and that's catharsis. And we talked about it on this channel before, that slavery as a concept is problematic. But when it comes to role-playing games, the problematic issue is not to have it in the game if you're a mature role player. It's not having the catharsis of being able to punch those people in the throat. One of the great things about role-playing games is having despicable things in it so we can rise up and beat ass. And if evil people aren't doing evil things, there's not much ass beating we can give them. So why is it that in movies and television shows and books you have uh, um, kick the dog, save the cat? It's because you need your hero to beat ass. Why do we need them to beat ass? Because because you need something evil to happen. Now, am I saying that I'm not promoting slavery in role playing games. I'm saying that if you have a role playing game, Dark Sun, this Red Dawn game, and other games, that on the title, on the packaging, it says this game has that in there. As an adult, you have an option. You can engage in it or not engage in it. My only problem with it is if you're going to engage in it, that's cool, as long as I get the opportunity to throat punch. I want to beat ass on the people who are doing it. And so including those problematic things in game for me is fine, as long as on the opposite end of that, we get an opportunity to just like wreck shop, right? It's the problem of enroll historical gaming. Listen, 1900s, 1920s, or whatever. If you were female, any brown skin, anything, if you were not in the waspish norm, you were pretty much a second class citizen, right? And some people are like, well, I want it to be realistic. And I'm like, no, I want to beat ass, right? Yeah, I'll play Call of Cthulhu. Can I beat ass on that hick sheriff down in Alabama? Because that's kind of what I want, right? Yeah, like Master of the Game says, yeah, we all want our uppance, right? Yeah, we all want to be like, you know what? I'm gonna beat the mother, you know. That's so. My feeling is I don't have a problem with problematic things. My feeling is if you're going to include a problematic thing, basically set up a situation where, hey, guess what? These people don't like you, and here's a way you can beat their ass. you know, and that's it. Yep. Mm-mm-mm. Plura says, I think all my slavers have been punched in the throat. Yeah, it's a taken thing. It's something for, you know. Sometimes you just got to punch somebody in the throat. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, I'm pretty sure all my named ones are dead at this point. Right. And listen, if they come back, if they're sniveling cowards and they come back and whatever, great story idea. But we love the John Wick series because someone killed his dog, right? Many people have problems with animals, innocent animals being murdered in their intellectual properties. We're supposed to have a problem with that because then we wake up and we go, "Oh, I can't wait for this month." I mean, if you think about it, the whole John Wick series is like, yeah, killed a puppy. Kind of makes sense that he put a bullet in people's brains. The whole movie, yeah, I kind of agree with that. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Gaster, what's going on there, man? Says if you remove some uncomfortable topics, it can somewhat stale the world. Not everyone is great in fantasy, and slavery is an evil that is very real in our history. So is racism and prejudices. And listen, I'm not. As adults, we can choose to fade to black or not have those things exist in the world at all. I don't have a problem with that. My problem is if as a grown adult, if I purchase a product that on the packaging it tells me it's in there, I don't have a problem if you let me know that's what that's about, right? And I don't think anybody else should have a problem with that. In a sense of if I buy a big old steak or candy bar and I know it's bad for me and I purchase it and eat it and you let me know it's bad for me, then that's I think it's fine. I don't think you should eliminate it, right? Um, I get that you may not like it, in which case you have the option to not purchase that game or something, or at least label it and say, hey, um, this historical 1920s game has no references to anything problematic. I'm all right with that too. But I feel like maybe we should like not maybe we should just not jump on it. Oh, Dogo's like the professor said, just tuned in after like a year. Now I'm not condoning slavery and tabletop. Yeah, came in a little bit on the odd side on this one. But we were talking about labor. That's what we're talking about because of Labor Day here in the States was a holiday. The holiday just passed Monday, and talking about how like the workers of our fantasy and somewhat science fiction don't get a lot of credit for the work that they do and how we can have stories basically built around it. Oh man. Mike's like, yeah, it's like in pro wrestling when the bad guy keeps winning, but the baby face doesn't eventually get revenge. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't. That like in wrestling, that happens a lot. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, yeah. He's like, yeah, that's bullshit. We want them to eventually get the W. Yeah, you don't want to snatch. That's my problem with problematic things in role playing games. It's like you got to hand over the win at least sometimes. I get everybody loves grim dark now. I get it, but you got to give somebody a win at some point. It's mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Gaster Two Souls says now I'm not saying you should include every single topic to absolutely make people feel disgusted with the world, but you need something to discomfort the players so they have a reason to stand up and go against the injustices they see in the world. Yeah, yeah, yep. And mm, why can't in the world and want to fix? Wow, it cut off that. Now, Why would it put dot 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 when it could literally print the whole thing? That's whatever. Master says those bad guys down in Columbus need to get their butts handed to them by the good guys in Michigan. Huh? No, you want to string us up and paint us blue? Really? Blue and maize? Thanks. He's like, I like the fade to black with more adult topics. Me too. Me too. There's some people try to use. Listen, it doesn't. It's. I'm not oblivious to the idea that some people use role playing games to fuel their own psychopathy. But yeah, yeah. Sorry, guys. He says I prefer PG-13 game style with some gore and violence. You know what? I actually kind of default to that too, for the most part. Or I'll give a big warning, like, "Hey, here's a thing," and then people can say, "Oh, okay, okay. Well, thanks for letting me know." Like I usually give a big flashing red light with a big arrow, like, "Hey, these people are bad because they're doing this thing, and they're kind of out of the norm, right? Like this evil thing is out of the norm. You might want to watch out for it, right? Both at the table and in game, in world." Gas was like, yes, labor. I actually have some interesting ideas for that sort of thing. Yeah, economy, labor, farming. Yep, we talked about that. Mike Gould mentions how many settings talk about brothels, but no one goes into why someone goes into that profession. Yeah, well, brothels might be indentured servitude or actual professions who choose it. You know what? That's true. That's very true. And there's a lot of problematic things with why people go into certain professions like that too, right? Mm-mm-mm. This turns into a background feature in this turns a background feature into a resource where you have plot hooks, possible criminal links, etc. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Maybe the criminality of that kind of thing too. All right, P. Pelora mentions says I'm generally of the opinion that you need the dark to contrast the light. A good person in a nice, fluffy, happy world isn't that impressive. A good person in a dark world is though. Ooh. Yeah, Mike. We'll do that tomorrow. Like the release valve of criminality and the disparity between the fact that a lot of cities almost need criminality and red light districts and things like that to as a release valve for the law and order of a place, you know, and the fact that in order to have law and order you got to get rid of the crime. But you know, a lot of people understand that if you all you're doing is moving it around, you're not really eliminating it, but you could try to push it out of your town to someplace else or something like that. Yeah. Stavros. There's a brothel in Stavros in Mike's world of Thol, run by a gnome madam who's actually a crime boss. Yeah, kind of cool. Very cool. Think you're probably out of here. Z says, "Well, I'm going to get my second wink since I am not really working this week. Good morning, and remember, DMing and playing are labors of love. So give each its due respect and time. The world won't." Yeah. Anyway, ZA, have a great one. Guys, I got to get out of here as well. I know I ran it late, but I had my fingers crossed because I've had really good internet, and it was terrible last week. I was running speed tests after speed tests, like, oh, okay, please come on. Called my internet provider, made sure, you know, reset it and all that kind of stuff. They do some kind of signal blasey blah. I don't know anything. I'm too much of a luddite for that kind of thing. But yeah, all your crime in moderation. Just a little bit of crime goes a long way. But yes, taking us out there with Z taking us out. Sorry, I missed Gaster. Sorry about that, Gas. Honestly, we don't have many campaigns or like in-game down with crazy settings like that. Stuff like people living inside of a giant monster, or maybe living on an island with maybe instead of trees is more like fungi. Oh, you're way out there. You love the outside stuff. Yeah, I love strange different worlds. I like the old world meeting the new. I'm strange like that, where you bring your old conception of the world and then they become misconceptions in a new world, and I like playing with that. Mike's like, ride eternal, shiny and chrome, y'alls. All right, now, yeah, we're going to continue talking about labor, very, very general. Like we talked about resource extraction and the little people banding together for big things, and hell, maybe even your big bad evil guys helping out the little guy to achieve a bigger goal. You know, I can see an old hag, uniting the local population against the upright nobles or something. So yeah, we're gonna talk about all that kind of stuff. Gasper's like, beware the ancient device the ancient man once called water cool as. You know what? They always hang around those monoliths. Fresh water was dispensed from such an item, and we drank about it. Yeah, yeah. Correction, work eternal, shiny and chrome. Yeah, uh, and side note, of course, I'm bitching and moaning because my work hours have not dipped at all. We can't find. I don't know where you guys are at. We can't find people to work at all. We are in a worker deficit. I listen. Dead man's probably looking at me like, yeah, you're gonna be a closet conservative. But whatever the case may be, we not when I say we, not just my job. My wife went to go to Taco Bell. She went bowling. After bowling, went to Taco Bell. Hey, what do you want? Went by, closed. And Taco Bell used to be the midnight drunken high place of all. It's crazy, crazy. Pelora saying, "Yeah, we can't find HGV drivers. It's a big problem in the UK. I don't know what H HGV. I guess um truckers. We can't find no big trucks, 18 wheelers. We call them here. But yeah, we can't find anything. Fast food places, people to cut grass and all. It took me forever just to find somebody to cut my front grass, which I should. Heavy goods vehicles. Yeah. Sorry about. Yeah. Yeah. This is just a difference from terminology. Same thing though, right? And it's crazy. But think about. I mean, I know we're trying to. The point of the show is to escape reality, but that's kind of where I get my inspiration from. And I'm thinking, like, what? Imagine a fantasy world where all the regular people are like, screw it, I'm out. You look, we've been attacked by goblinoids, taken over by dragon lords. We've had fiendish incursions. We're done. We're out. And all the nobles and evil vampire lords like, where are you going? Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, see, and just saying people aren't willing to work their tails off for what they deem low wages. Um, I feel like as the lone, maybe as the lone, I, I think part of it too. It feels like people are leaving the classic job market. I can't explain it. It's like what's it? App jobs, online jobs. It feels like a lot of a lot of the real workers have left that part of the job market, so we're kind of left with the bottom level people. It's kind of, I can't explain it, but it's like I know so many people now that have like cobbled together a career of different things that aren't a real job, like a 9 to 5, and it's yeah. Mike says, Master of the Game says, we have been told for 15 years that the trucking industry was going to be automated, and it isn't. But people stopped going into that work. Well, yeah, fear is going to make people leave a thing, labor market, right? We're talking about that, right? People leave a thing, and yeah, they'll jump out of a job if they think it's going to go away. Why wouldn't you? Z says, if it makes you feel any better, I work 2 jobs and voice act. See, and both jobs have a labor shortage. It's a buyer's market right now, and people have the rightful time to be picky after all these years. Yeah, and again, we can be a it's frustrating, but I get it, right? You can only be not you can only get low wages and get mistreated until the point at which people go, yeah, I can't afford to get your low wage, bad treatment job with no vacation and no medical. I'm going to do my own thing, right? And it happens. It's just it's an ebb and flow, right? It can't flow one way all the time, and it's unfortunate because small business people in the middle are like, I didn't want to do it like this at all, but now they're kind of shoved in the middle where they're getting it from both ends, just like most of us are like pretty much middle class, and we get it from both ends, right? Master of the Game says back in the 2008 crash we lost a lot of construction workers, yep, because they couldn't find work, and now those people have some money to build houses. The last 10 years nobody does that job. Yeah, well, yep, job market's full, and it's listen, I'm not I'm not here to wow. Um yeah, I'm not here to say one is good or bad. I'm just like it's weird living in this transition, and my creative mind is like, wow, could you imagine the D&D world where all the zero level people are just like, I'm out, I'm done. And they're like, the wizards are like, who's going to collect my material components? You better get some gloves on and boots and do it yourself. Well, the hard truth is, hamper immigration, watch many jobs not get filled. Yep. Well, there's a lot of listen. Here, people don't want to say that here in the states, but we'll, I think we would, if given the choice. I think a lot of people who are just like immigration, we need to stop people from crossing over. I think if someone said, listen, I'll give you a choice. We'll take all your hard workers and get rid of all your dole um, absorbers, and we'll kick them on the other side of the border. I think people would go for that one if there was a mystical way to do that. Master Game said, but mentions this, which is what I thought of. Yeah, yes, lots of people are self-employed with OnlyFans, streaming, YouTube, self-publishing, and more. Oh, there's a lot of people online tutorials, things like. I mean, there's a lot of people doing things digitally earning money where they normally wouldn't be doing it as a traditional job. And I think the people who are the hard workers that we're upset at are gone out of the job market. And so you have, unfortunately, what I'm going to call, unfortunately, bottom feeders, meaning like you can't find quality people because all the people who had difficulty in the job market that are your good, intelligent, brilliant, energetic people have already found something else, and you just can't find them back. Many of us are doing that. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Yep. Yep. And I can't speak for people's situations and stuff. Like Master of the Game talking about, he's got 3 kids. Daycare for 3 kids is a lot. Yep. Yep, a lot of people working from home. My wife works from home now too. Z says rich people are villains to the poor. Poor people are villains to the rich. Yeah, eat the rich, right? Yep, the middle class belong to the opposite team unless it's convenient. Yeah, 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 very much so. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Master of the Game says now in a fantasy setting, how come all the magic users aren't getting rich, getting rich in small towns? Go find me my bat guano, right? And they fold their arms. They're like, we're not collecting bat guano till you pay us. Z's like, oh, DBJ, rubbing my ego will get you everywhere in my life. I didn't realize I was doing that, dude. Yeah, dude, I'm with like just the fact that you like, I got 2 jobs, I'm doing voice acting and all that kind of stuff. You're just like, I can't do the tradition. I've got a traditional job. Out of everybody, like I'm going to work 35 years in a single job doing this thing, and it's crazy that doesn't exist any longer. I know it doesn't exist any longer, and it's a wild world. That's why I like I'm always into Future Fridays and transhumanism and all that kind of business. I love that. Yep. Oh, they could easily get a monopoly on healing or doing hard labor. Yeah. Yeah, wizard, what do you want? Vampire Lord is like, come to me, my slaves, I will drain your blood. And they're just like, well, how much money you got? We got some people back here with some real good blood back there. What you got for me? We're not doing that for you. But anyway, guys, I gotta get out of here. I I actually have the day off, but I have to run some errands. Blah blah blah. I haven't been into the creators conclave. I have a post waiting. I haven't posted it yet because I haven't figured out how to reword it. But anyway, guys, thank you very much. We'll talk about this tomorrow and the rest of the week. I know we're hitting. We got real close to hitting real sensitive subjects today because I think we all can feel what this feels like. Um, when it comes to society and working and listen, we're all armchair people. We feel like we have the answers, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just a glutton for punishment, but I love transitions, just because I never really attach myself to one way of thinking, and it. I think our lives and then our gaming lives would be pretty interesting when new things come about because even now, like you can see publishers and third party people kind of on a up and up. I mean, gaining a lot of momentum and whatnot out there. And so yeah, check that out. Oh, by the way, side note. This is a side note. I, I'm I'm promoting this a because I'm part of the writing team, but I'm promoting something else along with it. If you want to check out uh, publishers and how they publish and what they do and a quality thing, you have to go over to degenesis.com. It's called DE Genesis, DeGenesis. You have to see this website. They so much artwork, the layout of the website, the information on it. This dark, grim. Oh my God, it is beautiful, and they give it away for free. The PDF versions of the game are free. Over 700 plus pages of stuff. Anyway, you got to check this game out. It is absolutely, positively gorgeous. I say that because the designer in me is like, I want to reach that level. So the game that I helped, a little bit helped on, is N World's new Kickstarter that's coming out for Level Up 5e. It is literally fifth edition. Oh, duh, duh, duh. Let's see if I can. All right, so here's one link, and oh my God, this thing. Okay, let's place this here. All right, this is the first one I'm talking about. And if you're someone who is a if you're a publisher and because the Six More Vodka is the people who make the Genesis, and they are a design firm. They're not, they love role playing games. They're geeks through and through, but they're a design firm, and they do publishing and design for like businesses and written word and things like whatever. And it is absolutely beautiful, and it is something you should really. But for here's Level Up. Um, let's do this. Let me just copy this and place this here. Now, Level Up 5e is a the this is the main page for it, but excuse me. Um, the project was to rewrite fifth edition as if it was basic Dungeons and Dragons made into advanced. Yeah, and it's got a really simple game mechanic. D6 dice pool, dice pool. 4, 5, and 6 is a success. 1, 2, and 3, of course, isn't. 6 is what they call a boost. You get it's like a crit. Um, And in order to succeed in various actions, you need successes, building successes. So maybe jumping over a cliff, you need 3 successes. So you need to roll, like, maybe let's say you add your you got a 2 in an ability, you have a 3 in a skill, that's 5 dice, you roll 5 dice. You might need to get 3 successes to jump across the chasm. So you need to roll at least 3 of those dice need to be 4, 5, or 6. And then if you roll sixes, you may get a boost. So a boost might be something like the way the initiative system, it's a brutal game. So the way the initiative system works is when you roll initiative and you get sixes, you get a boost to act first or have more actions. And we all know in any role playing game, the more actions you get, especially combat actions, the more lethal you are. So you might go up against so called nameless individuals, but if they boost on their actions and they get to swing at you with their axe 2 or 3 more times, your character's probably going to go down pretty quick. So it's a pretty deadly game. But I say that because fifth this new fifth edition, advanced fifth edition, A5E, we're calling it in house by N World, is, oh my goodness, it is. I can't wait for you guys to see the art and the layout and whatnot. And it's something that in the creators conclave I want to talk about and kind of get into and whatnot. So anyway, guys, I gotta go uh, get a flat tire fix. I got a bunch of errands to run. Flat tire, um, drugstore. Um, uh, my wife's got the list. It's a honeydew list. I can't remember everything. I got some yard work to do. It's pretty simple. Trash to put out. Blah 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 blah. Anyway, guys, have a great one. I will see thee later. Peace. Peace and